Hey guys, another episode of the Believe in Padres Prospects Podcast on the Believe Podcast Network.
San Diego's #1 sports podcast network.
It's episode 41. Wade's fresh off the Peloton. How are you doing, Wade? How was the Peloton today?
Doing great, PR'd, you know? This quarantine's really getting me back in fighting shape.
When were you in fighting shape?
High school, like 20 years ago.
So before you even like hit puberty, because you were like me, like a skinny little fuck back in high school.
Yep.
Have you noticed a big change since you've been Pelotoning? You've been doing it a lot.
Yeah. You know, I thoroughly enjoy it. I would recommend to anyone.
Are you getting strong? Do you feel like your strength has improved? Your legs, your stamina?
Yeah. I mean, in softball, I started dropping bombs before this quarantine happened.
What bombs? I was there for all those games.
Yeah. Remember those ones I almost hit over the fence?
The one ball you hit that was actually foul?
There were two.
Okay. None were in fair territory. So on today's show, Dodger Dustin's going to come back. We're going to say that for the end of the show. I quickly troll him on the Dodgers and Mookie Betts because it's hilarious. This is the 1 year they get Mookie Betts and he might not even play for them.
Do they still
the main reason he's on is we're doing our draft of best movies that take place in San Diego/LA. So 5 total rounds, snake draft style.
Top Gun was #1, right?
What's that?
Top Gun was #1, right?
I mean, you're going to have to listen.
Okay. I'd pick Top Gun.
He's an LA guy, born and raised. We went to college together. I'm from San Diego. So I leaned San Diego movies, even though there's not that many. LA has way more, obviously. But we do that draft. We talk about each movie a little bit. He's directed movies before. He went to Chapman for film school, so he really knows what he's talking about. And we went pretty longer than usual for this podcast. But, you know, if it's not something you're into, you can skip it to the end. But I thought it was pretty
Sandlot
fun.
come up?
Sandlot? Why would Sandlot come up?
Didn't Sandlot take place in the Valley in LA?
First of all, I don't know. Second of all, would that even count?
Yeah, that's LA.
The Valley? We're counting the Valley now?
Yeah.
I don't think, because we can't even tell in the movie where it is, I don't think you're allowed to count it.
I mean, Benny the Jet wears a Dodgers hat and then plays for the Dodgers.
Well, he plays for the Dodgers. That doesn't mean anything.
I don't know. I would have picked Sandlot.
We had some specific rules that the city had to be a major part of the story. And you're making an interesting case that he wore a Dodgers hat and was a Dodgers fan, although that's not enough proof that the movie takes place there. It's got to be more part of the story. We have to know it's LA. They don't come out and tell us.
Okay.
But
we'll probably cut this.
No, we're going to leave it in. It's going to be a long episode today, Wade. So strap it on. Strap it in, even though you're not going to be here for that. So you'd go Sandlot or Top Gun?
Top Gun for sure, #1.
Other stuff on today's show. Wade's here for the baseball convos, although there's not that many. David Ortiz was nice enough to give us a little sports nugget to talk about, although you weren't that impressed by it.
David Ortiz is the news, but yeah, we'll talk about it.
I heard an interesting story about Ortiz today. We'll talk about that when we get to him. I wanted to go over the international baseball that's going on, and by international, I just mean Taiwan. So they started their season, and I kind of wanted to just briefly take a peek at that. We're starting a new segment, Prospect of the Year. So I'm going to go back in time. I wanted to pick a time where we knew we were prospect write-ups and we were keeping track of prospects. Like, when you go back to the 70s, nobody was taking like notes or making lists of prospects. We didn't have rankings of prospects yet. So I started at 1990. This is going to be the first week we do this segment, Prospect of the Year, 1990. And the next week we'll do 91 and so on until we catch up. But I thought it'd be a fun little exercise just to take a look at who the prospects have been throughout history, how they turned out, where they were in relation to the other prospects. And I don't know, I thought it'd be a fun little exercise to do.
Yeah, providing
First,
content.
Wade, do you remember the time when you thought you were still going to go to opening day back when this pandemic started? We thought it was going to happen.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
This pandemic would last like a week and then opening day would still happen.
Did you? I was convinced it would last like 2 weeks. How naive we were. Did you hear today the Padres are offering refunds for all tickets purchased, single game and season tickets, through May 31st. They had to throw a stipulation on there. It's not going to be all the games. I think they're still anticipating having a significant number of games this year, probably starting in June or July.
I did see that, but it's only for if you bought it like through Ticketmaster or through the Padres website. If you bought it from like a, secondhand website like SeatGeek or anything, you're just shit out of luck.
That sounds about right. They're not going to make things too easy for people. They said that you can roll over your tickets to next year, so 2021, in exchange for loyalty credits, whatever the hell that is, discounts on food and merchandise, which are vague. It's probably like 15% off your $100 sweatshirt or your $200 Tommy Bahama polos.
I mean, what if it was for $1 off the $12 beers? I'd be in.
That's not even no. I need 50% off beers. That would do it for me. First of all, for baseball or for the Padres to imply that season tickets are going to go up next year too. So if you roll over your tickets this season to next season, there will be no price increase on you. How could they dare insinuate that there's going to be a price increase after this ridiculous sham of a season is going to happen? Not that it's their fault.
In this economy?
Yeah. First of all, the economy. And second of all, we're going to be deprived of our regular baseball season. How are they going to get away with raising ticket prices next year? It's absurd.
I mean, with the shortened season, we might win a World Series and then you can raise the prices.
I asked Dustin, would this devalue the World Series for you? If, like, let's say we had an 80 game season and the Dodgers won, would you feel good about that? And I think initially he said yes. And when I pressed him, I was like, well, I'll be able to troll you forever. Like, this is the only World Series in your lifetime. He's our age. And it's the year that it was a super short, weird season that all the games were in Arizona and no fans were. That's the season that you're going to get the World Series. It seems like it kind of sucks.
I'd print shirts. I'd rep it hard.
Oh, we would for sure. But it'd be amazing to troll the Dodger fans because even though we would claim the World Series, like for them to claim it, we'd be able to talk shit forever.
Yeah, but they're not going to win, so we don't have to talk about it.
Well, so what do you think about the MLB and just leagues in general doing a price increase and then floating it out like they're doing us a huge favor? Oh, roll the tickets over to next season. We won't raise the prices on you. Thanks, guys.
I mean, if you look at it historically, they've raised the prices every year.
It's like college tuition when you go to, especially private school. It just goes up every year, $1,000. And so by the time you're 10 years out of school, if you're going to private school somewhere, let's say it's $30,000, in a few years, it's going to be 40,000. Like, it's absurd what's going on with just it goes up more than inflation does.
And for online schools, they're still charging the same price.
Oh, online schools are thrilled. Like, they're never been more in demand than they are right now.
Well, no, just all the kids aren't getting any refunds for not being at school.
Oh, that too.
Like, is the whole freshman class next year just going to be from home?
I have no idea what the fuck's going to happen with seniors, high school seniors who missed the second half of their year. College seniors, I think it's easier to do, but high school seniors, these guys have pretty much all gotten into school already. They're supposed to be starting freshman year. Are they going to cram in some summer classes from high school just so they can get the fuck out? Or I have no idea what's going to happen.
Who knows?
Other stuff I wanted to get to, David Ortiz talking about Manny Machado. So this was the juicy nugget, I thought, from the week. You weren't that thrilled by it. How was this not just like a tasty little, like a nice appetizer in your sports dinner for the week?
I just don't care about David Ortiz. He's a shitty dude. He cheated on a drug lord's wife. That's why he got shot. Like,
you think that's what happened? Where'd that come from?
Oh, that's 100% what happened. David Ortiz is a scumbag. Big Papi is terrible.
Is this you just fabricating a hot take, or is this real?
No, this is real. David Ortiz is a known bad guy.
I don't think that's accurate at all. I heard a funny story from Bill Simmons today. I forgot which podcast it was from, probably his own BS report, but he was talking about how players in the NBA in the 90s were getting shit because Barkley and Jordan were friends and hung out together during the NBA finals. And he was telling a story about how he heard David Ortiz like encouraging Alex Rodriguez when they were playing against each other one day. Alex Rodriguez looked really nervous or something, and Ortiz was telling him like, "Hey man, just take a deep breath. It's going to be cool." Like, what are you doing? It's the guy you're playing against. Why are you such a happy, jolly dude when you're on the field against your opponent? You're like giving him advice on how to perform better. That makes no sense to me.
I mean,
the one fault I thought David Ortiz had was he was too nice.
That's what he wants you to think. He's a scumbag.
Exactly. I hate dudes that are overly nice because they want everyone to like them. Nothing's more unappealing than that.
I mean, there was a reason he got shot. We'll just leave it at that.
Jesus. Is he a Hall of Famer for you?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Well, let's hold on to that for a second. So the comments that we totally skipped over what we were talking about. So Ortiz, this was in a Spanish language website. Ortiz just reverted back to Spanish on me. God damn it. Okay, here it is. Former player David Ortiz confessed that his, Dominican compatriot should leave the San Diego Padres. So he said to Jansen Pujols, I think that's the publication.
On YouTube.
Via YouTube, yeah. He said that the Padres, quote unquote, don't have the pressure to apply to Manny as a baseball player for him to perform better. So like he was in Baltimore, he was in the AL East bias, big surprise. Playing the Yankees, playing the Red Sox, playing the Rays, huge pressure there. He said, I want that guy to get out of there. That guy is a pressure hitter. And if he's batting 2-0 and continues to be applauded, it's not like in the American League or with the Dodgers. He needs a team that puts pressure on him. That's kind of
What does he mean by 2-0? I didn't understand that.
I don't really get it either. It's translated from him and from the website. If it's a 2-0 count, if the team is winning 2-0, if they're losing, it doesn't really matter, I guess. But yeah, that was confusing too.
It's a dumb quote.
It's a dumb. It's probably not directly translatable. I don't know, but he's basically just getting at we're going to cheer him no matter what. And my reaction was like, you've played here what, 2 times? You were on 2 road trips here probably in your entire career. Like half the fans give Manny shit every time they see him play, especially me. I'm in the minority, I know, but there's plenty of fans that give him shit for not running out ground balls.
He gets booed everywhere he goes.
Yeah, there's pressure on him literally everywhere he goes. Maybe not as much at home, but yeah, spoiler alert, home fans like their home players.
And big Boston didn't like David Ortiz. Like, get the fuck out of here.
He never faced pressure in Boston one time. They loved him.
His whole retirement ceremony was such a joke. I can't
get out of here.
Ortiz. He's such a scumbag.
I guess the show hates David Ortiz now. I'll reach out to him this week and see if we can get him on the podcast. Would you like that?
David Ortiz? Sure. I'll tell us to his face.
I'll see what I can do. I'll reach out to his people.
Reach out to his DMs. Maybe make a YouTube video. It seems like that's where he produces content.
I'll try to do it in Spanish too and see if that catches his eye.
It could,
Lastly, in the new stuff, so baseball in Taiwan has restarted. They're doing it with no fans. Manny Ramirez, who used to play there, said he wants to go back and try to play again. He's 47, so I get it. I guess he could. I don't think the baseball level is too beyond what Manny Ramirez could probably do right now. I could see this being like the league that everyone watches to see how it goes, like logistically at least. So they're doing no fans. They only have 5 teams in the league. It's a small little island country, but 5 teams. They're doing it no fans, and I think people just need to get used to the idea of seeing no fans in the stadium. And then once they get over that initial shock or weirdness of it, I think we can say like, hey, it's still baseball. I'm happy to watch it. As long as it's safe to do, I see no reason why we can't, follow Taiwan's lead. And then once it's safe enough in a month or 2, we could get some baseball in.
I mean, but then there's no pressure. So what's Manny Machado going to do?
True. I think with no pressure on him, he's not going to thrive like he used to in Baltimore. Those teams in Baltimore, by the way, but when he was his last couple of years in Baltimore were some of the worst teams in baseball.
Yeah.
I could see Korea starting again really soon. Japan is flirting with it. They started to reopen some stuff and then kind of pushed back.
Are they
They're gonna
wearing masks while they're playing, or they're free
no,
range up there?
no masks.
Okay.
Although there are exercise masks. I don't see the point for masks when they're playing. I think these guys are isolating as a group once you start games.
And you're like taking their temperature before they start.
Yeah, and like if they're all together all the time and they're all asymptomatic at least, and maybe they're all testing negative, why you don't need to wear masks anymore.
Yeah, I would agree.
They do have exercise masks that you see guys working out in and running and biking with. If you had to, I guess you could do that.
That'd be so hard to see, though, batting
It
wise.
doesn't cover your eyes.
Still, I don't know. Just wearing one, I feel like my vision is impaired.
No, it's not going to impair your vision. I'm a proponent of putting masks on every batting helmet, actually. Like softball,
Like the cages?
Yeah, like softball.
No.
I'm all for it. I think if you adapt players to it early enough, they'd have no problems doing it. Softball players can do it. If a girl can do it, Wade, and hit a dinger, how come you can't?
I mean,
Boom.
if I'm a professional athlete, I want people to see my face. That's the moneymaker, you know? I
It's
need
see
to
your
be able
face.
to
People
I need to be
you
able
don't
to
think
I need
you
to
don't know
be
what
able
Tom
to
Brady
sell
looks
more
like?
shit.
You don't know what Tom Brady looks like because he wears a mask?
Do you know what any offensive lineman looks like?
I don't know any of their names, so it doesn't matter. They're offensive linemen.
I mean, you like any linebacker in the league could walk by you and you'd have no idea who they were.
Linebacker.
A baseball player walks by you, you know who he is because you can see his face.
Well, according to most people, baseball is not a popular enough sport that nobody would recognize Mike Trout if he walked by.
Right, true.
Also, everybody knows a football player when they see him because they're massive.
And Mike Trout's not?
No, not compared to a middle linebacker in the NFL.
I think he could play middle linebacker in the NFL.
He's got the neck for it. He's got a big neck.
Yeah.
Let's get prospect of the year going real quick, and then we'll get into Dustin.
I never heard of half of these guys, and the ones I do know are way past their prime.
Most of these guys never had a prime. This guy here is dead.
So prospect of the year, 1990. Started here because it was a logical place to start. Didn't want to go too far back because, like I said, there's no prospect rankings or analysis from that time. So this is according to Baseball America. Andy Bennis, Sporting News Rookie Pitcher of the Year, actually in 1989. So he got up for a cup of coffee in 89, just 66 innings though. So he retains his rookie eligibility for 1990. What do you think? What do you think of that pick there? Do you have fond memories of Andy Bennis?
I do.
Oh, I always liked him. I thought he was a solid pitcher, not, an ace like Kevin Brown level or even Andy Ashby level, but a really solid mid-rotation guy. I liked him in the mid-90s.
Yeah. And he was with the Padres with the sweet unis,
Big fan of those mid-90s pinstripes. Even the blue alternates don't get enough credit for being nice. So he was the top prospect 1990. Trivia question, Sporting News stopped doing their pitching prospect of the year after the 2003 season. Do you have any idea who the National League rookie pitcher of the year was in 2003?
In 2003?
Yeah.
Jake Peavy?
No, it was Dontrell Willis.
Really? What happened to him?
Yeah, man, his candle burned so bright and went out too quickly. He was great for a couple years. I think it was mostly deception. But
how old is he?
He was really fun. I bet he's not that old.
You think he could be on our handball team?
Oh, absolutely. Killer lefty coming down from like a 3/4 arm slot. I bet he has some heat left in that left arm.
He's only 38. He could be on our handball team.
He'd absolutely be on the handball team. I wonder if he's in shape though. Can he run?
He's probably not. He's probably like 200 pounds overweight.
So Andy Bennis, I didn't realize he was a first overall 1-1 pick in the MLB draft.
I did not either.
Doing all of our homework and research the last few weeks for draft picks and busts and stuff. He never came up for me. From Evansville, Indiana, went to University of Evansville. In 88, he led the team in appearances. So this is Evansville. With 24.
University of Evansville, the Aces.
The Aces.
From the Missouri Valley Conference.
Led the team in appearances with 24, wins with 16, ERA, $1.42. Anytime your ERA starts with a buck something, you're having a good year. Games started 16. It had 2 saves, tied for the team lead in saves. Not a big saves year for Evansville. I'm guessing he led the team in strikeouts too, but they didn't provide that information. Going back to 88, it's kind of tough to find stats on your college baseball team.
Yeah.
First pick overall in 88, in the majors by 89. So different era, and jumped up right to the majors. And it was pretty good that first year. Had like a 3.60 ERA, and you don't see that anymore. Mark Grant, I think, did the same thing, and Mark Grant's career ended a little differently. But his first full year in baseball, the next year, 90. So he's still a prospect. Pitched 192 innings, 3.60 ERA, 140 strikeouts. Serviceable big leaguer right away. I was very impressed.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of went on for his whole career to be pretty serviceable. He's like a solid, 2-3 man in the rotation.
Yeah, if he's your 3, you're really happy. If he's a 2, you're like, okay, he's good, but could probably improve the staff a little bit.
I mean, overall winning record, 155 and 139. That's a solid career.
That's something. Ends up pitching 7 years for the Padres. 2 of them were seasons with a 4+ WAR. So that's some kind of nice. I love a good 4+ WAR season. Ends up getting traded to Seattle with a player to be named for Mark Neufeld and Ron Vallone. I don't think that's a great return for
another Padres lost trade.
So he was dealt at the deadline 95. He was a free agent the following year. So maybe not a terrible, maybe they just had to get rid of him. They're not going to sign him long-term, I guess, in the plan. I don't know what the payroll situation was like that year, but he was only making like close to $4 million a season. And he just missed out on those 96 Padres team, or the 96 Padres team, which was really good. Cammy's MVP year. 97 was kind of a down year, but then 98 was our best season ever. And unfortunately he wasn't a part of it. He was 3rd in the NL Cy Young voting in 96. So we just missed his prime also.
How is he not in our traded before their prime podcast?
He was a blind spot for us, but Corey Kluber still wins that for pitchers, but Andy Bettis should have been talked about. We missed that one.
Yeah. That's one of his 2,000 strikeouts.
Yeah, exactly. 2,000 strikeouts. Interesting fact. Also interesting fact, throughout the first pitch in Diamondbacks history. I didn't realize that.
That is pretty cool.
It's a cool thing to do.
That's back when they had the white pinstripes and purple undershirts,
The
vests.
purple turquoise vest combo. Those are good looking uniforms.
I used to love the vest combos.
Rockies had a vest for a while. Any other vests out there? The Reds maybe had a vest.
Bring back the vests.
I'd wear a vest. We had vests in high school.
We did.
I thought they were fine.
I loved the vest. It was a good look.
Bennis, career 3.97 ERA, 2,000 strikeouts exactly, which we talked about. Can't be mad at that. So good for Andy Bennis. We'll get into prospect of the year 1991 on the next episode. So that's our Padres talk for the day. Not bad.
Solid pick for 1990.
Considering we have nothing else to talk about, I'll take it. All right, Wade. You know what time it is?
While you're waiting this out at home with us, you can still have fun betting at betonline.ag. With no NBA, NHL, or MLB, you might think there's nothing to bet on, but BetOnline still has hundreds of places to wager, including their online casino with poker and blackjack. But sports aren't totally done. There's still esports,
Taiwanese baseball,
ping pong, American Idol, Big Brother, the elections, and their $750,000 poker series. There's still fun to be had, so go to betonline.ag and use their promo code MyPod100. That's MyPod100 to receive your welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, your online wagering experts.
Great read, Wade. Now we're going to bring in Dodger Dustin to do our movie draft. So if you hate movies or if this is not interesting to you, this is the time you can turn off the pod, but appreciate you downloading and listening though. So here is Dodger Dustin. So coming back on the show now is good friend of the show and good friend of mine, Dustin Byron, He's my film guy. We talked about him last time. He lives in LA, makes movies kind of part-time, but you went to school to study movies. So you're the movie guy I go to when I want to talk movies. So how are you doing, Dustin? I haven't talked to you in a while.
Trying not to lose my mind, but this helps. Anything
that seems to be the theme.
Structure and past helps.
You're working on a movie now, aren't you?
Yes.
And that just come to a screeching halt?
It's more about like concern for the future, because like what we're doing right now doesn't cost any money or require production. It's more just wondering whether there's going to be any money out there when this all opens back up. But almost everybody is worrying about that in some form or another. So we're not.
The reason we got you on today is I talked to you a couple weeks ago about doing a draft of. I mean, you're from LA. I'm from San Diego. I wanted to do a draft of the best all-time movies or most rewatchable movies or desert island movies, whatever you wanted to go with, that take place in San Diego and LA, and kind of just go head to head. Obviously, LA has a lot more movies to choose from, but what San Diego lacks for in quantity, it definitely makes up for in quality. And so I thought it'd be a fun exercise to just kind of do a draft, see where our biases come in. Do we lean more action? Do we lean more comedy? Are they older movies? Do they hold up? And just kind of see how it goes, and then talk about each one a little bit as we draft, and then see who comes up with the best 5 movies that take place either in San Diego or LA.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And you like the idea? That sounds fun to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it'll show a lot about us.
By the way, are you enjoying the fact that Mookie Betts will never, in fact, play in a Dodger uniform?
Actually, today, not so much feeling that way, because have you seen this 10-team 100-game, this 10-team division 100-game thing?
They keep talking about it.
I've been kind of just, we don't know anybody, but like I've been like trying to like listen kind of like between the lines to people who do seem to have good sources. I feel like in the last few weeks, almost every league is getting more confident they'll come back in some form.
Would you feel good if the Dodgers won the World Series this year in the shortened season? That's bizarre, and you're playing at like tiny little minor league stadiums or something. If that happens, would that feel still good to you? 100%?
Yeah, because if anybody were to try to invalidate that, I would just bring up that we also lost a 7-game World Series to a team that then was revealed to be the most systematic cheaters we've had in 100 years.
I'd almost like it if you guys won this year with all this weird shit going on, just so I could invalidate it and infuriate you for the rest of our lives. It'd be really funny for me.
Yeah, as you say that pisses me off, but it does. I have had the same thought about the Clippers, so I can't lie.
Oh yeah, the Clippers too. Yeah, I won't care though about the Clippers. The baseball one though, just because it would bother you.
It would just be funny if the Clippers, like the most hopeless organization, like finally broke through in the year that nobody's quite sure what to do with.
All right, let's get to the draft. So I'm to do the draft order. There's only 2 of us, so we're gonna do a snake draft. Whoever gets to pick first gets the number 1 pick, and then second picks second and third, and we'll go back and forth that way. So
perfect.
I have a bunch of ping pong balls in my office for various reasons. The ball I'm holding, is it blue or pink?
Were you doing a gender reveal party?
Well, there's other colors too, but these happen to be the ones sitting next to me. But okay. Great point by you. Didn't even think about that.
I'm gonna go with pink.
It is blue.
All right.
So that means well, I guess I could defer. I'll just go first because I think that makes more sense.
I don't think we're gonna step on each other's toes a ton here anyway.
No, we did a mock draft, and it was mostly just to see how it would go. And that was a few days ago. But we have pretty different tastes in movies. We overlapped a little bit, but it wasn't too bad.
I think of the 10 movies we drafted, there were only 3 or so that the other would have taken.
Yeah. With the number 1 pick, so I went with the rationale here is that I wanted to. These are the movies that I'm going to bring with me, and these are the only 5 movies I get for my life on the desert island that I'm stranded on. So it was actually kind of a tough choice here with number 1. I am going to go with Pulp Fiction.
That's surprising, actually.
Off the board. And the rationale here, I didn't plan on going first, so I didn't even expect to have my pick of the litter here. But the rationale here for Pulp Fiction, which is
happening, so don't prepare for that.
Sorry?
There was only a 50% chance that was going to happen, so why prepare?
I told you before the show I didn't put a lot of pre-draft work into this.
It's better that way.
So this is a really LA movie. First of all, we wanted to make sure that the movies didn't just happen to casually mention they were in LA, or there's a shot of LA or a shot of San Diego. Like, you had to feel the city in these movies, which narrowed it down a little bit. And this is a
crucially.
What?
It narrowed it down crucially because there's so many movies that do take place in LA, but that doesn't really matter to them, that the list would have been way too big without doing that rule.
Fair enough. And this is a very LA movie, is it not? Is this one of the most LA movies you could think of, Pulp Fiction?
Yeah, there's kind of like with LA movies, there's two categories I kind of put in, which is like, are they placed in LA, like the sales pitch of LA, or are they placed in the real LA? This is one of the most real LA movies I've ever seen.
And I think it holds up very well. It's not dated at all. I've come to you before with it, criticizing it, because I think there's about 30 minutes you could easily cut out of this movie. The whole date with Travolta and Uma Thurman I skip every time if I find this on TV. There's no reason for me to watch any of that. There's no tension for me. It's just awkward conversation. The dancing is horrific to watch. I don't need any of that in my life.
It's just funny that like you chose something that's like definitely iconic, but it's not my favorite part of the movie either.
Okay, so here's why I chose it.
The tension is that they're getting along, and like they probably would hook up in any other situation, but he'll probably die if he does that.
I didn't get romantic chemistry from that at all. I just thought they were both weird.
Well, they do both do heroin in like 10 minutes, so yeah, that's
true.
Fair.
It's a really good heroin, apparently.
Yes.
The reason I chose it, and I think this is crucial because I'm only getting 5 movies. There's like 5 different movies in this movie. You can break it up into little chunks. It's very what's the word for it? Where it's like a short story of novels, but it's a movie. Is there a phrase for that?
I feel like I forgot the word the second you asked me to remember it, but like, it's one of those things. But I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's a short stories like menage or I don't know. I'm gonna get up in the air right now, but it's a really good movie to pick because there's lots of different places you can jump in. You get to watch the Butch stuff. You get to watch the Travolta stuff. You get to watch the Samuel L. Jackson stuff. There's so many different small movies within this movie that I can watch one for 15 minutes and be done for the day, and then come back and watch another section of it for 15 or 20 minutes, and I'm good. And I don't feel like I have to sit down and watch the whole thing all at once.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot that comes with the movie. Like, you get to think about how it's kind of Tarantino's breakthrough, and like he's somebody who still matters a lot. So it's not just like a movie, but it just feels like kind of part of history, or like, especially if you're a 90s person. Like, so yeah, there's just a lot. The movie brings a lot to chew on it.
You're calling this the breakthrough and not Reservoir Dogs?
This is the movie where Reservoir Dogs is when he broke through to people who like are looking to see whether filmmakers like break through. But and it was popular, but it was like, it didn't make a ton of money or anything. This is the movie where he became like one of the most famous directors in the world. Like, as famous as most actors.
So a surprising pick from me, I think. Definitely. At number 1. It's like, it'd be like if the Bengals ended up taking Tua first overall. It's not a bad pick, but you expected them to take Burrow the whole time. It's just kind of a weird thing to happen.
Yeah, it's not like Jordan Love level, but it would be like Tua first. Yeah.
Okay, so you've got Joe Burrow still on the board here. You get to pick 2 and 3. What do you got?
So 2 I'm excited about because I feel like we're going to disagree on it. And,
I can't wait.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure you hadn't seen it until this all started. But 2 is Heat, which is just one of the best movies. I think it's on my top 10. It's on a lot of people's top 10. B, it's, I think, the perfect LA movie. For a lot of reasons we can discuss in a second. Do you want me to go on and pick 3, or do you want to go?
Let's talk. Well, yeah, make your pick, and then we'll talk about Heat for a minute.
Okay, so let's talk about Heat.
No, I said make your pick first, so I can hear it, and then we'll talk about Heat.
Okay. So for 3, I'm I'm really tempted to choose to rob one. I think you want to pick right now, but I'm gonna
Demolition Man.
I'm gonna go with Training Day.
Ah, Training. Okay, I never get Training Day. This is the
I know,
mock draft. I didn't get it.
Yeah,
I don't get it here.
I was gonna piss you off because.
Okay, well, we'll get to Training Day in a second.
Yeah.
Heat. So when we were doing the list or the mock draft just to see where things were going to land, and I know I hadn't seen a lot of these older movies. Heat is one I missed because it's never really been on the TNT circuit or the WGN circuit or those cable channels, the pay-per-view channels. I'm sure it's around, but I didn't get those till late in life. So when I'm growing up, I'm a child of the 90s, but I was too young to see Heat in theaters. And I never got to see it on TV either. I think it was probably just on HBO, Showtime, those kind of channels. So I never grew up with it. I grew up with other older movies, but not this one. And it was a big hole in my resume. And it's kind of hard to go back in time and watch one of these things that you don't really have a connection to, that's older, a little dated. And it's long as hell. Like we're gonna get to that, but
that it is, yeah, for sure.
I got to find it on YouTube, and so I watched it last night in preparation for the show. And I gotta say, I'll give it a solid B+. I took a ton of notes. You want to hear some of my notes?
Yeah, I'm just happy that was. I was ready for you to like act like you gave it a generous grade and then say like C, and then I was gonna freak out. So
I was texting you while I was watching it, and you were. I could see the rage boiling through the text machine that you were gonna.
Your phone.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna drive over and kill me. So, first of all, I took a ton of notes. I'll probably skip some of it, but how do they know that the armored car is going to flip over when they run into it? Armored cars are huge and really heavy. I don't buy that. Right off the bat, I was like, how do they know this is going to flip over? It could easily not flip over.
That is, I mean, that's like, I feel like they're so detail oriented that they probably just did the math on it because they go, as we see them through the rest of the movie, they're an extraordinarily detail oriented crew.
Oh, are they? They do so much dumb shit in this movie.
Okay,
Two, this is because I had seen Den of Thieves first. Is Den of Thieves better?
No. God damn it.
Den of Thieves is basically the Star Wars Force Awakens version of Heat. It's a shot for shot remake, and I don't know how they got away with it. Are you allowed to do that in Hollywood? Just totally pilfer the story and make a whole new movie based on the exact same thing?
I mean, you're allowed to. I don't think Den of Thieves. I don't think Heat feels super challenged by Den of Thieves.
It is the most egregious copycat of a movie
by Gerard Butler.
It's the most egregious copycat of a movie I've ever seen in my life, outside of Force Awakens.
There is that weird thing that's kind of like fascinates me, where it's like if you're copying a movie that hasn't been done a bunch, but like, so if you do something that's only one other movie's famous for, you're copying it. But if you're doing something that's been done 1,000 times, like every single comic book movie is the same fucking movie, that's fine. Sure. It's only if you're copying something that's only been done once that it's worse, apparently, which I always kind of like blows my mind. But it's like a famous, I mean, to be fair to Den of Thieves, it's like the setup of like the following the main cop and like the main robber, and it's like a epic as they like chase each other, is like a fairly, it's a fairly common concept.
Defending Den of Thieves, I didn't expect that.
That's like my only defense of it. But
let's go through these. Let's go through these a little faster because I have a ton of notes, and I don't want to spend too much time on my notes of the movie.
Yeah, that's fine.
Is the town better?
No.
All right. Ted Levine. Do you know Ted Levine from the movie? He was one of the cops.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Great mustache, great gravelly voice. I recognized him, but I couldn't place it. And do you have any idea which movie I thought of first when I saw Ted Levine?
I mean, most people think of Silence of the Lambs.
And I didn't realize that until I IMDb'd him. But no, I saw him as General Bloodbath McGrath from the Wild Wild West.
Yep, that checks out.
Why isn't Val Kilmer more famous? He had this run of Top Gun, and then this movie. What happened to him?
So Man, I could go deep on that.
No, we don't need to go into that. We don't.
He gives like 4 like the best performances of the last 20 years, but then he also makes so many just terrible movies.
What accent is Pacino doing early in this movie? He's all over the place. He says a line that's like 3 dead bodies off Venice Boulevard. Like, are we in the town? Is this Charlestown? What is that? What was that accent?
I think it's just supposed to be like exasperated Al Pacino. And he's supposed to be like doing coke the entire movie, even though you don't see it. That's something
that makes a lot more sense.
And revealed as like a character note, which kind of makes a lot of sense.
He's full Pacino in this movie. He turned up to 11 the entire movie. It's pretty amazing. I don't know how he has the energy for it. How does De Niro pick up the girl Edie at the coffee shop or wherever he's at? He's the creepiest man alive in that scene, and somehow takes her home and closes the deal on the first night. What the hell happened there?
This is like, it's not great. That first scene is not great. This is like a kind of like fascination of mine, which is like great like crime directors. Like, this is something I've noticed in like Christopher Nolan movies too, is like great crime directors who just like cannot do romance for shit. So like they have to do a scene like that. It's just so awkward.
They have no they have negative romantic chemistry in this movie.
She's like, what are you looking for? He's like, concrete or whatever.
He's just minerals or something.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Metals.
And she's like, I'm gonna keep going at this one.
Yeah, she's gonna keep trying. I don't get why De Niro insisted on finishing the job when he knew every cop in the city was watching him. That made no sense. The crew is amazing. I love the crew. Kilmer, De Niro, Trejo, Sizemore, and the murdery prostitute murdery guy. I don't know who that is, but that's a great crew.
Amazing crew.
I wrote down Jesus Christ. This is a long movie, 2 different times.
Accurate.
What else do I have here? Pacino ends up doing actually nothing of consequence in this entire movie. He gets the tip at the end to find De Niro from some guy, and then they have a shootout, and that's it. And it's the 3rd best shootout of the movie. So the movie didn't end that great for me. Jeremy Piven, is he the least believable doctor of all time?
Possibly, mostly because of what we know from him now, but I just love seeing Jeremy Piven pop up in pre-Entourage things. It's like the funniest thing to me. Knowing that he's like a famous like coke fiend douchebag, like in real life. Like it just makes me so happy when he like is supposed to be a regular character for 2 minutes in any movie.
Does John Voight have the best mullet of any character in any movie?
Very possibly. This is a great character. There's just so many good little characters in this.
Pedro
movie.
Serrano is in the movie for no fucking reason.
He's great.
What's her name? Natalie Portman's in the movie for no fucking reason.
Yeah, that's my least favorite part of the movie.
The cast, every character is someone of consequence. All these characters are great. The cast is not the character. The cast is amazing. So that's the one thing I'll give this movie. The cast is really good.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, the cast and the character writing I love in this movie, except for Natalie Portman's character, which I think is like most unwatchable part of the movie.
All right, I'm gonna have to skip some stuff here because we're going long on this. But why did you? I'll even cut some of this crap because we don't need it all. But what's your motivation for taking Heat? I'll let you just talk Heat for a few minutes.
I think as far as like one of my absolute favorite setups for a movie is like just kind of like the split down the middle, good guy and bad guy who are kind of like 2 sides of the same coin. That's like my favorite. That like I can't if a movie pulls that off well or any story pulls that off well, I can never get enough of like the 2 people who are supposed to be enemies, but also are like the same person at their core. I think Face Off, yeah. Just the way it looks, the way it made, the way it strings everything together to feel like kind of like just like an opus and like such an epic story. I love all the characters. I love these 2 guys who are just the best at what they do, but so bad at everything else in life. Like, I just think it's fascinating when people who are clearly like that in real life, like Michael Mann is, who is like an extremely obsessive director, makes movies where he's like clearly exploring his own issues, through these characters, and these characters are two guys who are like geniuses at what they do, and the rest of their life is just a tire fire. And that's another type of character I just find fascinating. I come back to it over and over again. And it's had a ton of influence on movies I love. The Dark Knight famously modeled itself after Heat. And
Den of Thieves.
Den of Thieves, yeah. It's one of my favorite. A lot of movies are either set in like the like slums of it, like the parts of LA where they're like making a point that like LA isn't glamorous, or they're set in glamorous bullshit LA. This movie just makes the sprawl of LA and all of LA actually look great. It actually just, because it makes it, and it builds into the themes of these people who are just like, their lives are intercrossing, but they're fundamentally lonely. So that's like, as far as movies that use the city, the way Heat uses LA to like kind of explore these people who are they go from thing to thing, but they're on their own, really. And even that's like a philosophy for Robert De Niro's character. Is interesting. Yeah, it's just like, I love everything. I love the way it's exploring. Obviously, the acting is incredible. And it's just had it's had such a good impact on other movies, especially the shootout, the main one, the bank robbery one.
That holds up very well, by the way.
And I told you. And sound design after that shootout in movies is just so much better, because everybody heard that shootout in that movie and they're like, oh shit.
Yeah, the movie. It's not even so much the camera work or the cinematography in that scene. It's the sound. You feel like you're there next to the guy.
Right. They famously used just essentially real shooting sounds, which is like somehow was people. That's like something where it's like, so the aggressive thing to do is actually just do the obvious thing, and people have been doing a stupid thing forever. Yeah. But like, you look at movies before that, most shooting sounds are like very like pew. And like now after Heat, you can just see a clear rise in the sophistication of how like a shootout's supposed to sound. So it just had such a good impact on movies.
Yeah, I'm disappointed I'm disappointed I came into the movie late. I could see how it would be an all-time classic for you. I don't feel terrible about losing it here. Let's talk about Training Day, because Training Day I do have an attachment to. I think it's probably Denzel Washington's best movie, because when you can create a villain like this, he's the prototypical villain of any movie. I'll put him against anyone that's another villain. I think he's one of the best villains of all time. Him and the Joker and Heath Ledger's Joker are right up there at the top. And he makes the movie. He wins the movie. The movie is great. It takes place in a car pretty much 90% of the time, it feels like, and he carries it.
Speaking of things that like being true to the city you're shooting in, like what's more LA than that?
His well, I guess it's not really his scene, but the scene where he's with the three kings at the diner. I love that scene where he's getting told the story about the criminal who packs his ass crack with peanut butter. That's a classic for me. The very end fight with Ethan Hawke, and then the stuff with his baby mama before. Like, I just love everything with Denzel in it, and ultimately his death is even really entertaining and fun. And it's a great movie, and I think it's his best performance of all time.
I agree with everything you just said. Like, I think villains often can go like one of two ways, which is like a lot of time they're villains, but like the movie just goes so far out of its way to make you understand them and make them sympathetic. Or the villain will just be like just clearly villainous, but like you don't really understand. Like you don't understand why people will be following them. They're just like treating their under people like shit. Like
kind of like Ramsay Bolton from Game of Thrones. I think people got a little Ramsay Bolton fatigue at the end, because he was really entertaining for a couple episodes, and then he just became this, I don't know, not a relatable character at all. He was really evil, but he didn't have the kind of story background that we got from Denzel.
Yeah, and so this is like the rare character where it's like, he's a bad. And this is probably describes a lot of great villains, which is like, he's a bad guy. You should be rooting against him. You're like scared for Ethan Hawke, who you do look, but like at the same time, you're like, I totally get why this guy gets what he wants. He's just like so commanding and so he's so magnetic. Like, and you can totally see how this guy goes around, and everybody kind of wants to kill him, but at the same time, he ultimately gets his way because he's just got this way about him and this like force of nature. It just feels like you understand, like, if that villain is in the wrong hands, and even in the hands of somebody who does a pretty good job, but doesn't just make you be like shit, that guy's the dude, that guy's the man, then like the movie's over. And that's what's interesting about this movie is like it's one of my favorite movies that like is a casting decision away from not even being good.
Yeah, if he's not in this, I was just thinking that if he's not in this movie, it's probably an okay movie, but very forgettable.
Could become trash real quick. I feel like.
Agreed. So you're
with like a white main cop, like it could feel exploitative real quickly if like you actually don't really like the black villain.
So I'm gonna go ahead and pick now.
Go for
it. I have Pulp Fiction off the board. You took Heat and Training Day. All LA movies so far. Again, it's a pretty big selection from LA movies. I'm finally going to make the cross over to San Diego movies. And I guess you could debate me on this one being a truly San Diego movie, but it's going to be Top Gun. And I mean, I think enough of the major scenes take place at iconic San Diego locations. And obviously at the time of the movie, this Miramar was a Navy base and it was Fighter Town, USA for a long time. So I feel like this gets do you agree with?
That's why I think it's a valid San Diego movie is because San Diego being a military or an Air Force town was like such a big part of San Diego. I mean, you know better than me, but
yeah.
To the point where, like hear things like, oh, there's a big prostitute part of San Diego because there's a big military part of San Diego, shit like that.
Well, Miramar Road which actually where the office is across the street from MCAS Miramar. It's now a Marine controlled airbase. When I was growing up, it was Navy and the Navy moved out. They took Fighter Town, USA out to, I don't know where they took it. I looked this up and I forgot. They took it out somewhere into the desert. I think maybe Nevada, and now it's a different location. But at the time it was, the Navy pilots trained here, and that's what the movie is based off of. Miramar Road is full of strip clubs. More I don't know if it's the most strip clubs in one area in San Diego, but there are certainly more than your average location. There's a fair amount of bars. It's actually become a really big hotspot for breweries because when you go past Miramar Road, kind of off Miramar Road, you get like this big warehouse district, and it's kind of where all the breweries have moved into. So it's kind of having a revitalization.
Yeah. So the San Diego we have now, I feel like is a lot different than San Diego era of this movie.
Oh, what I was trying to think of was growing up, and even now, there are the air show was a big part of my childhood, and being at La Jolla Country Day, we're down the street also from MCAS Miramar, and the Blue Angels would always fly over during the air show, and we would see jets and helicopters all the time. It kind of is a big part of the city, even for a civilian.
Yeah, we went and watched that basketball game on the aircraft carrier.
Yeah, San Diego State, Syracuse. Yeah. I think Syracuse won that game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too bad, but yeah, the Midway. It's a big Navy/Marine town, and I think that comes through in the movie very well. Even though the movie's older and the Navy doesn't use the airfield anymore. Tom Cruise. Is this the big Tom Cruise movie where he comes out as a huge movie star, or does that happen earlier? Is it Cocktail?
I think
Risky Business.
I think it's Risky Business. Yeah, I think Risky Business is where he becomes a star. But I think this movie is where the Tom Cruise we know now is born, where it's extremely action focused, and where the Tom Cruise like just playing Tom Cruise the character thing starts, where he's just like always this like cocky, arrogant, but ultimately decent good guy.
That's our first glimpse of that version of Tom Cruise, I think, in this movie. And I was watching the trailer for the Top Gun Maverick. He's full into it now. He's Mission Impossible. He's Ethan Hunt. He's Maverick. He's Jack Reacher. He's all those characters now, just kind of by default. And it holds up. I love every second of it. Yeah,
this made me think about Tom Cruise, which is like we've come all the way around to him where, I mean, what happened in the middle of the 2000s was just insane. And it was hard to take him seriously for a while. And now and I think this is part of the reason he's probably figured out to just focus on action movies and not do like dramas, is like now he's actually incorporated that into his character. Like you're kind of like, this guy's insane, but I still love him. And that works for going back and watching these movies.
I think the movie still even holds up too. I watch it every couple years. And the shots they do with the jets and all the action scenes they do up in the air I think are incredible. And there's a fair amount of, the camera in the cockpit where they're clearly in a studio with Michael Ironside and Tom Skerritt. And, but those guys, they do a really good, those are great actors in their own right. And they do a really good job of keeping me in the movie, and the action work with the jets flying around the desert and then out at sea, I think is still all really good. And I don't have a problem rewatching this movie at all.
Yeah, no, I think we were kind of talking about this last night, but I think there's some times where these movies look better because they did it for real. And then now that's kind of coming into vogue again for like a lot of movies, especially Tom Cruise movies. Like Tom Cruise and Christopher Nolan movies are like the two movies of like push doing things for real again.
Bring back practical effects. I'm sick of CGI. You can always tell.
A long time in the middle where like CGI just kind of like takes over. Now I think CGI is littered throughout every comic book movie because those movies kind of exist in a fake world anyways. But movies that are set in a world like Top Gun are having a harder and harder time doing CGI.
Yeah,
they've kind of figured that out. Point being, I think this movie looks better than probably a lot of flying in movies in the middle between then and now.
Agreed. I get the feeling when you're watching like Guardians of the Galaxy and their little spaceships flying around, it looks like a video game. When you go watch Top Gun, you feel like you're in it.
Yeah, you like feel the jet. Like, this is I remember this feeling when I was a kid and watching this movie for the first time. It's like you really feel the jet like go by. Like you feel like how it would feel to be close when a jet goes by. This
is also just a really good America fuck yeah movie. Like nothing jacks you up more than hearing Danger Zone and Tom Cruise is on his motorcycle driving down the runway and the jets are taking off and he throws his fist in the air. Like this is like for Americans. Like this is a 4th of July must. Like this, if this doesn't get you jacked up about being American, then nothing will.
Yeah, and I think the military knew that because they were.
Oh, it's a huge propaganda movie. It's an all-time propaganda movie, and I don't care. It's transparent, and I don't care, and it's great.
Yeah, it's amazing.
My next pick, staying in San Diego, it's Anchorman, and I think this is probably the quintessential San Diego movie. Nothing puts San Diego on the map in a movie setting other than Anchorman. The Ron Burgundy character is now iconic. Go fuck yourself, San Diego. San Diego was founded in 1904 by the Germans. It means a whale's vagina. All of this stuff has held up really well. One of the most quotable movies of all time. A lot of it revolving around San Diego. You've got great shots of San Diego. Shout outs to the zoo and SeaWorld.
Oh yeah.
It's all over San Diego. And it feels really satisfying as a local to see all this stuff on screen you live in LA, people that live in New York get it all the time. This was the first movie for me that felt like it took place down the street. And this movie was about us. So that I'm throwing this in here. And it's really funny and one of Will Ferrell's probably top 5 movies of all time too.
Yeah. I mean, I think it has a real argument for his number one. And it's like, even also just like, I don't know, who God knows why they put this movie in San Diego. It could be just because that's where they wanted to shoot and stuff, or they just wanted it to be like a nice area. But it also is very San Diego in like the characters in the movie, like these like kind of like ridiculous like white people are like living the life and like they're like got their chest out and they like kind of aren't very self-aware. It's like very like what you'll see in like certain parts of San Diego, certain parts of Orange County, certain like beach towns in LA. It's just like the type of douchebag you'd meet. These news guys are perfect for that.
Yeah, why wasn't this in Santa Monica or something?
I think San Diego is like I think it's funnier for it to be in a place that isn't one of like the obvious cities. And I think the idea that like they're living in like a little bit of a paradise in the start of the movie until she comes in and ruins it just by being a woman is kind of like part of the movie. Like and San Diego can go for like kind of more of a paradise.
Yeah, for San Diego, for some reason, San Diego just makes it funnier. I don't know why. If it was in Miami, I don't think it would have been as funny.
Yeah, I think San Diego was perfect. I think they probably figured that out at some points. Like, what's a city that's famous but not too famous? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of choices they could have made, and I'm really happy. I think there was a lot to work with for San Diego for some reason. I don't know how it worked. It ended up working really well. So those are my 2 picks. I took Anchorman and Top Gun. So you are up with picks. Your third and 4th picks.
So pick number 6 is Die Hard.
Die Hard.
Yeah.
Okay. And, what's 7?
in 7, and I think this is where we'll get in.
Oh God, you're gonna do it to me now, aren't you?
Is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
There it is. Okay. We're gonna spend a lot of. Let's go through Die Hard quickly. I don't think there's too much to talk about with Die Hard.
No, it's just fucking best. But
is that Bruce Willis's best movie?
Yes.
Is that Alan Rickman's best movie?
Yeah, and I think we were talking about best villains ever. I think he's like top 5 for me, easy.
Favorite fact from that movie? Did you know? I'm sure you know this, but when they were holding up Alan Rickman at the very end before he gets dropped, the drop was a surprise, and so you got his natural reaction.
I did know that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's in slow motion. You're zoomed in right on his face, and you can see the fear in his eyes. It's amazingly well. Great idea.
Yeah. Everything he says in this movie is like that. His character in this movie is one of those movies where like every line he said you can now say to people as like just quoting or just taking it out of context, and it's great.
You want me to hurt you just a little bit here? This is not a top 10 movie for me in this category.
That's fine. I mean, like to me, part of it is just like we were talking about LA movies, and there's a few things early in the movie. Like he talks a lot. John McCain talks about a lot about how much he hates LA, and then he's here for his wife. And then the Nakatomi Plaza is right, like essentially right across the street from Century City Mall. So I see it all the time, and so it just always makes me happy. It's like, oh, there's Die Hard.
Is this also a Christmas movie for you?
Well, that's a whole nother debate. But
I'll give you 30 seconds. Is it a Christmas movie?
Yeah.
It's the wrong answer.
Cool. Okay. We could go.
All right. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, one more thing, and then Die Hard also, like there's a lot of Laker replays going over the radio early in the game.
Oh, are there?
Mentioning of the Showtime Lakers.
Is Carl Winslow listening to the Laker game?
No, it's the what's his name? The limo driver. God, I'm forgetting his name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyways.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I did not see this in theaters. I'm assuming you saw it when it came out. I rented it on TV on I don't know, one of the Showtime or whatever it was. And I'm going to admit, I'm really stupid here. I did no research on the movie. I had no idea what was happening in the entire movie. The whole movie, I'm sitting there thinking, what the fuck is going on? Why is this movie about nothing? I didn't get the Charles Manson thing at all until afterwards. So I watched it kind of like, I kind of watched it as a baby, naively watching like your parents fighting. I had no idea what was going on. And then afterwards, a whole lot more made sense. Sharon Tate made sense finally. Charles Manson showing up at the house made sense finally. The end finally made sense. Like it all came together, but still, I'm gonna have to rewatch it. But this movie is complete. There's two schools of thought here. I think half people that have seen this really like it, and the other half really hate it. I'm unfortunately in the half that did not like it.
I think half and half is a little. I mean, I think it's more like than half and half. But yeah, it's definitely a polarizing movie. This is my favorite movie last year. I loved it. For obvious reasons, as far as movies that actually incorporate the city, this kind of is the ultimate of that. I thought that there are movies sometimes where I'm like, I just could watch these characters do anything, and this movie was top of that list for me, where I just could watch Rick and Cliff do anything. It's one of those movies where I loved when I saw it, but then I also have loved kind of thinking about it in different ways, or what he's actually going for, which he actually gets you to wonder what he's going for, because the ending is so off the wall, more for most people than you, because most people know what is supposed to happen going into the movie.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like, I'd say like a key part of the experience of when you see it for the first time.
But also, it's a Tarantino movie, and he's going to throw a curveball at you. Didn't you expect that?
I expected a curveball, but I didn't expect the curveball to be that Sharon was just not going to be killed.
Okay. I mean, even after watching Inglourious Bastards and seeing Hitler die, you didn't think they were going to do something bizarre here?
No, because Hitler did die. Like, to me, is like, this was such a different change in history, because that was him reimagining how it ended into a fantasy, but this was him outright changing history. And then there's like another thing I love is like when the title comes up at the end, and only when the movie is done do you fully understand the title. This is definitely a great one of those. because the title comes up at the end, right when the last 20 minutes have proven that this is obviously like a fairy tale. It's literally not real life.
My problem with the movie mostly is that Sharon Tate doesn't do jack the entire movie, and she takes up a big punch of it. It's mostly Tarantino filming her feet and filming her smiling at stuff and filming her dancing and just being hot. She doesn't do anything this entire movie.
The feet thing is definitely weird, but Tarantino can do what he wants to do.
Yep.
I think
who has better feet? Her, what's her name in this movie?
Sharon.
Margot Robbie, or Selma Hayek in From Dusk Till Dawn. Tarantino gets two really good feet scenes from those two of the most legendary.
Than that.
What's that?
He has more feet scenes than that. I think there's like over half his movies. Well,
no, I know. I'm saying those are two of the most stunning actresses of all time. Which one was more enjoyable for him?
I'm gonna go with Selma Hayek just because he was so much younger at the time, and I think he was like probably a freak. So God knows what he would do.
He gets to put her foot in his mouth at one point.
Like now he's like married now, so I'm sure he's still a weirdo, but he's a genius too. And Pulp Fiction has an entire subplot fascinated with whether or not feet are erotic. So
yeah, true.
Yeah, so he loves.
The other problem I had with this movie was I wanted just more Brad Pitt, who played Cliff. I thought all of his stuff was really good. The tension at the ranch, even though there was really no payoff, was really great. I was riveted by that. And then
when he recognizes them, anyways, go on.
Yeah, the fight with Bruce Lee, which may or may not have been accurate in his memory, was really fun. I just liked Cliff, and the flashback with his wife was interesting. Every time Leo was on screen, now Leo gives an amazing performance. I just didn't really care about anything going on with Leo.
So I understand what you're saying. I mean, Brad Pitt's performance in this movie is just super enjoyable. I thought Leo is also hilarious, but it's a little more anxious to watch his performance because it's somebody who's over the hill and kind of out of his mind. I think DiCaprio said, or Tarantino said, that Rick is undiagnosed obsessive compulsive, which makes a lot of sense for how they did the character.
For sure.
He has a lot of great moments, but I definitely, most of his the Rick character is most fun when he does have Cliff to go off of. But I think Rick is more crucial to like the setup of the story because obviously he's the opposite of Sharon.
What's the name of that show he was on, that Western again? Bounty Law.
Bounty Law, yeah.
Tarantino spent way too much time on Bounty Law.
Dude, you think he spent way too much time now? He wants to make a full season of it.
Oh God, yeah, I heard. But no, Netflix, please do not greenlight that project. That's not going to do well. It worked for this movie a little bit. I thought they could have cut 5 to 10 minutes of that stuff out easily, and we wouldn't have lost anything in the movie.
I mean, it's interesting with Tarantino because most directors that I love, I find that like they're very, very like exacting about what goes in the movie and what doesn't. Tarantino is probably my favorite director, of whom I can say that about every single one of his movies. Like to me, every single one of his movies, it's clear what 15 minutes you would lose if you had to, which isn't like usually something I feel about some of my favorite movies. But then I realized that like what does work in his movies kind of requires that willingness to go overboard, because when it does work, you have scenes where just feels so real and ridiculous because they're just going on and going in directions where you have no idea where it's going to go because they don't follow the structure of any scene that you've seen before.
True.
But yeah, I agree with you, and that's how I feel about every Tarantino movie. Every Tarantino movie is too long, and yet I still love most of them, especially the recent ones. I'm a big fan of his later career.
Hateful Eight, I could do without. I didn't.
Yeah, that's my least favorite. Okay, so I'm a big fan of his late career, except that's my least favorite of his movies. But I love this one, Django, and
Inglourious Bastards.
Inglourious Bastards.
I really love Django. I really love Inglourious Bastards. I think Inglourious Bastards is probably my favorite of his movies.
Yeah, same.
And that's the one movie I don't think there's a lot to cut. What would you cut? Is there a lot of fat to trim from that movie? Because I can watch that. That's another movie kind of like Pulp Fiction, where there's a bunch of stories going on at once, and I can kind of hop in and out anywhere I want to. And I didn't think there was too much that you could lose.
I think the scene that I think is just most I could lose, or I could have it in a normal movie could probably be a minute, and instead is I think like 15 is the Mike Myers scene.
Oh, I liked Mike Myers in that.
I just like felt like it's a long time to just explain why this guy's going to be in the next scene.
You know what would have been a great idea? A movie about just the bar scene. I think that could have been a whole movie.
I mean, it almost is. I mean, that's the thing with that movie is the bar scene and the opening scene. I could watch those scenes anytime.
I think the bar scene went. There's more payoff at the bar. The beginning's amazing too. Don't get me wrong, but I think the bar could be a 90-minute movie by itself. It would have been incredible.
Yeah, and just like that movie kind of like. I think as I was being young at the time, that was like the movie that made me understand that like silent tension actually can be, or usually is, if done well, more effective than obvious tension.
Yes.
Like that movie is just like you feel like you want to jump in your seat as they're still laughing around, but you just know everybody's gonna die. It's just like I just remember the feeling in theaters, and you still get it watching it again, and then seeing the moment where he accidentally gives himself away, and then judging everything from that moment on. It's just like such a great scene.
Michael Fassbender, where's he from? Is he Austrian?
I think he's just English.
No.
You might be right.
We gotta look this up right now. I think he's German.
Yeah, and that actually, what I said sounds wrong the more I think about it.
Oh, I'm gonna cut this part, don't worry.
Irish German.
Born in Heidelberg, Germany.
Born in Germany, but nationality is Irish, German. Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Do you realize the level of difficulty it is to be a German playing a British soldier who's pretending to be a German soldier?
100%, like crazy. and has an unacceptable German accent to get through as a spy.
It has to have a bad German accent to do it.
And he has to be able to realistically get away with that because it's not a good anything accent. And so he's getting away with the concept that it's just a totally unique accent. Like there's so much going on there.
He's undervalued as an actor. He's got to be, I think he's like, if we're doing sports player comps, he's a top 10 actor today.
Yeah, I think he's made some iffy choices. I think that attaching himself to playing Magneto, although a couple of those
he was great in it. The movies are terrible, but he's so good.
These are terrible, A, and B, he's just there. He's not going to take being the Magneto guy from Ian McKellen, which I think like matters a lot. Like you're not even the first thing that comes to mind when people think of Magneto, especially because those movies still incorporate the original Magneto and the original Professor X. But yeah, I don't like those movies very much. I think Michael Fassbender, if you had told me like 10 years ago, like this is all the good movies he would make in the next 10 years, I would have been pretty surprised.
We got way off topic here, but I think that's okay. That was much needed.
Yeah.
So I'm up here with picks 8 and 9, and I'm gonna take Boogie Nights here.
Great choice.
And then Top Gun 2, Top Gun Maverick. So let's talk about. I'll just give you my brief. Why am I doing Top Gun Maverick? Just shooting in the dark here. The trailer is enough. Like I get chills watching the trailer. It's Tom Cruise revitalizing this iconic character, Maverick, who people still talk about today. And it's, 25 years later? What year did this movie come out? The original?
Closer to 35.
It's amazing. And yeah, it's got to be older than 20. It's probably closer to 30. So
I think it's closer to 35 because it comes out like mid 80s, I think. Definitely not 90.
Let's figure this out. Help me out here.
1986, yeah, so 34 years.
Jesus, it actually came out before I was born, and it's still a good movie. And now they're doing it this much later, and the sound is amazing in the music. Ed Harris is an all-time first ballot. Like I need to cast an actor to play a ship's captain. Give me Ed Harris every time.
Especially like, his voice is going to start the trailer. Then like, just give me.
Yes. For that part, there's only, I think 3 people on earth that can do it. It's like Ed Harris, De Niro, and Tommy Lee Jones. And I think Ed Harris is number 1.
Ed Harris also on the list. I'm just thinking about this list because of the State of the Enemy of the State podcast they did on Watchables. But list of people who've don't really feel like they've aged just because they looked old forever, he's top of that list.
He is the top of it. He's been that exact age for the last 30 years.
It's amazing. Yeah. He went from looking old to looking young because he's never changed.
I love anything with Ed Harris in it. Big Ed Harris.
Amazing presence, amazing voice. Agreed.
Season 1 of Westworld, he was amazing. And then I really liked him in kind of an underrated Western, Appaloosa. He just plays a great Western character.
Yeah, and you could tell me he's the villain, he's the sheriff, he's the bar owner. Yeah, I'm down for all of it.
So for me, Tom Cruise back, obviously. Ed Harris in it. I don't care if he's in it for 2 minutes, that's plenty because he's so good. I'm shooting in the dark here. I think I'm very confident Top Gun Maverick is going to be a classic all time. It's kind of like how you just knew Mission Impossible Fallout was going to be an all timer. I'm getting the same feeling from this, and I am very comfortable drafting Top Gun preemptively. Like taking the high school college basketball player, like you're not, he's going to be the next LeBron James. That's who I'm taking here.
I'm 80% of the way there with you. I think that it's just, when I saw the trailer, I felt the same way as far as like, this is just the way it looks and feels, and just how Tom Cruise's commitment has allowed them to change these movies so that they look and feel like nothing you've ever seen before. Cause he's really doing whatever the thing is like what he's doing with Mission Impossible. I could watch Fallout once a week, easy. And the only question I have is like whether or not even that's a good story, because it's not like I need it to be like gripping. It's just like whether or not the other characters they introduce are going to be even actually take away from it. Like they're going to try to focus on some young guy's plot as the next Tom Cruise, and if you don't like him, it's just going to hurt the movie.
The one flaw with my pick here is I'm not sure how much of it's actually going to take place in San Diego, but I think we're fine making an exception for this movie because the original takes place in San Diego. And it does look like they're redoing the bar scene. It looked like with Goose's kid. What's his name?
I know you're talking about, and that is one thing that also makes me hopeful for the movie. Have you seen Everybody Wants Some?
No.
It's a movie about a college baseball team the weekend before school starts. It's amazing. You'd like it. He is just
Miles
great.
Miles Teller, right?
Okay, so I wasn't. That's actually okay. Miles Teller's Goose's son. I'm thinking of the other guy who's in it. It's Glenn. Damn it.
Val Kilmer's going to be in it.
Powell. Yeah, Glenn Powell's really funny. He's a really good actor. So it is a good cast.
Yeah, Kilmer's back. Not sure how much he's going to be in it. John Hamm is going to be in it. Jennifer Connelly, who I think holds up very well. I'm a big Jennifer Connelly fan, so
agreed.
I'm really happy about the cast. There do look like I mentioned the Kansas City barbecue place downtown. I'm sure is the scene with Miles Teller in the trailer. I think that's the location they used. It looks the same. There's a couple other scenes that look like they could be at Miramar. There's scenes that look like they're out in Nevada. So I'm not sure exactly how much is in San Diego, but I think it's enough.
Yeah, I mean we'll allow it. I think that if you end up wrong, we're gonna be okay.
we're not going back.
Yeah.
Boogie Nights. Let's get to Boogie Nights real quick.
I mean, what is really to say? Even it's a great movie.
I actually haven't watched it in a while. I'm really overdue, I guess, to rewatch it because I think it's one of my favorite Philip Seymour Hoffman characters of all time too. He's in a lot of great stuff that I like, but this is all time Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Oh, unreal. Yeah. I mean, but the thing about this movie, and it's funny because you started with Pulp Fiction, and they're kind of same in this way. That thing I said in the beginning about movies set in sales pitch LA versus movies set in real LA. Same thing going for this movie. It's definitely set in the real LA. In like the fact that it's about porn instead of movies is like the perfect entryway into that.
The cast is incredible. It's superstars all over the place.
It's like one of those movies where you're like, my favorite performance is blank or my favorite part is blank, but then you keep going and you suddenly have described the whole movie.
Well, I don't think anyone ever says Mark Wahlberg.
No, he does do a great job, but I agree. But almost everybody else, like John C. Reilly,
William H. Macy is awesome.
William H. Macy, yeah, exactly. Alfred Molina in his like 10 minutes.
Yeah,
terrifying and insane. There's so many people in it. They're all perfect, and it's a movie. Yeah, I love the movie. It's very long. In the last hour, it suffers a little bit from what I call Goodfellas syndrome, and Goodfellas is one of my favorite movies ever. But like 3-hour movies where the rise and fall, and the last hour is the fall. It's very hard to sign up for a 3-hour movie where the last hour is miserable.
True. And this movie, kind of like with Pulp Fiction or with, well, kind of any of these movies, I guess, I have no problem jumping in halfway through the movie or leaving the movie early because I've seen them so many times.
Yeah, for sure. I think like Tarantino, Paul Thomas Anderson, and Scorsese are like famous for that. Like movies that once you've seen them, you could kind of jump in whenever. Because the plot doesn't really matter. Anyways.
No. Shout out to Heather Graham as Roller Girl too. I think she's one of the most perfect cast characters.
Big moment for everybody who's our age. That's all it is.
If you're in your early 30s or even mid to late 30s, I guess, that Heather Graham rolling in literally as Roller Girl, you will always remember. It's up there with the Fast Times at Ridgemont High scene, which is a candidate to be picked in this draft. The scene where what's her name is coming out of the pool.
Yeah, but that's for different age people. But yeah,
true. But I still watch that, and I'm taken back to a different time.
Fair enough. But Heather Graham was, she was there when we all needed her most.
All right, we have one pick left for you, and then we'll do some honorable mentions and get out of here. Lots of good movies still on the board. Let's just do a rundown of the draft so far. Pulp Fiction went 1, Heat and Training Day by you 2 and 3. I took Top Gun and Anchorman at 4 and 5. You went Die Hard, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood 6 and 7, and I just went Boogie Nights, Top Gun, Maverick 8, 9. Still on the board. Terminator 2, shockingly still on the board. Boys in the Hood, Blade Runner, which I thought you may have been tempted to pick. Fast Times, The Wood, which you like a lot more than I think is warranted. Lots of still things to choose from here. So where are you going to go with the last pick?
Are you going to be pissed if I don't pick something that you watched to get ready for this?
Oh, you're going to take what I think you're going to take?
Well, am I going to be pissed? Are you going to be pissed if I don't take it?
No, take it whatever you want. Okay,
because I think I'm going back and forth on how much of an LA movie Terminator Training Day is. Terminator 2. Judgment Day.
Get the name of the movie there, and then we'll talk.
Terminator Training Day would be great. Just Terminator.
I don't watch that.
Judgment Day. Yeah, because also I go on the road as the movie goes on, but I think I'm going to say no, because I don't think that movie really makes a point of being in LA. It does use LA really well, especially in the early chase that ends in the LA tunnel, LA River.
Yes.
That's all. The main reason I want to take it is how good that chase is, in that does use the LA River. But
tell Walter to shut up.
How dare you? I'm going to go with LA Confidential.
Ugh. I didn't watch it.
Well, there you go. Okay.
I watched the trailer for it. It looked unwatchable.
Okay, well, good call. It's
all right. Tell me about LA. Why does LA Confidential hold up so well for you?
Well, first, I think that the whole old LA thing. That's why I kind of wanted to choose it specifically for this, is because it's the best movie about old LA, and old Hollywood, and it's just like it captures that like kind of nostalgia, but also like how much the nostalgia was bullshit at the same time. Like the movie's very much set in like glitz and glamour 1950s LA, but then also it's showing how terrible the 1950s LA really was. And it's a really good cop thriller. It has a scene and a twist that you'll notice.
Hey, get the dog under control. What's he want?
He's barking because other dogs are barking outside. 1 second.
Oh.
Okay. You'll notice. Do you like Minority Report?
Yes.
Okay. Well, one day you'll see LA Confidential, and you notice Minority Report stole like several of its most important parts, like directly from LA Confidential.
I don't like Guy Pearce.
Interesting, because I'm not a huge fan of his either most of the time, but this movie, he's not. He's kind of like, the point is to be annoyed by him, but he's amazing in Memento, which is one of my favorite movies. But
I don't like Memento either.
That's just fucking insane. But
This
Yeah.
isn't. I don't think it's good Russell Crowe either, and I don't
Well, you didn't see it.
know, but I can tell. And
Okay.
it is good Kevin Spacey, which I'm not sure how we're supposed to feel about in 2020.
That is an interesting question about how that affects picking something, but the cast is just like a perfect 90s cast. It's not like my actual fifth favorite movie, but I'm picking it because of it's my favorite movie fifth favorite movie as far as how it takes advantage of LA. Because obviously Terminator Judgment Day would beat this every day of the week. But I feel like Terminator Judgment Day, like other than the LA River scene, it could care less that it takes place in LA.
I was really close to picking Demolition Man because Demolition Man's unique because, first of all, it's a very underrated cult classic action movie. It takes place in San Angeles, which is the mixture of LA and San Diego, which is, I think, the only movie that ever does this. Escape from LA might. Does Escape from LA kind of encompass all of LA and Southern California?
I don't know, but it wouldn't have been my pick anyways.
You're gonna what? You weren't. Oh, you weren't gonna pick it.
I'm saying Escape from LA is not something that I was worried about.
Of all the movies from that era that don't hold up, Escape from LA doesn't hold up the most.
Very, very high. Yeah, that's a great call.
The scene where he's surfing down the LA River is one of the worst scenes I've ever. It's the worst thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I remember thinking that movie was terrible even at the time. Saw it at like 9 years old. I rented it. To answer one of your other things, Blade Runner would have been on my list, but I just feel like the whole future LA thing doesn't really count for me.
No, it absolutely counts. I love future stuff.
It's literally a different city in the movie.
It's still LA.
The point they're making,
watch,
like, how much LA has changed. Like
you can watch a movie about 80s LA, and it's 2020, so it counts. But you can't watch a movie about 2080 LA.
That's the other thing. Is also Blade Runner takes place in 2019.
There you go. Even worse. Yeah.
And we know how far off it was.
It doesn't matter. It takes place in present fucking day, Dustin. It absolutely counts.
I love that movie. Well, then you should have taken it. I love that movie, but to me, it just takes place in like a future world. It doesn't really take place in LA. The only point they're making is that this world has gotten so messed up that LA is now unrecognizable because it's actually full of skyscrapers and it snows.
You're wrong.
Got it.
What about what was Blade Runner 2 called? Is it just called Blade Runner 2?
Blade Runner 2049, which I love. Yeah.
Does that count?
No, same reason.
What would have been your next pick? Probably Terminator 2?
No, because I decided that doesn't really count. My honorable mention in movie I kind of wanted to pick was Clueless.
I like Clueless, but it doesn't belong on this list with all these other movies, unfortunately.
I love Clueless. I feel like it's like just one of those movies that brings me back to my childhood most, and it's so about. I mean, that is a movie that really is about LA. Like that movie, the whole point is that it's about like how ridiculous Beverly Hills, LA is.
I probably would have gone with Demolition Man just because.
Good choice.
Because it's amazing. Wesley Snipes. The character of Simon Phoenix lives strong. There was that who was the basketball player I think it was at Syracuse the last couple of years who looks exactly like Simon Phoenix. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. I'm trying to remember his name. And then also now there's the guy at Virginia.
Yeah. Oh, that's who I'm thinking of. Not Syracuse. It was Virginia.
Oh, yeah. Was there nobody? Yeah, it is just Virginia. Yeah, that guy's good too.
Simon Phoenix. The name Simon Phoenix holds up really well.
Dake or something like that.
Sandra Bullock looks incredible in this movie.
Yeah, she does. She's gone strong for a long time.
Oh man, this movie made me re-fall in love with Sandra Bullock. Even the fake sex scene where they're doing like the mind sex, they're using the mind sex machine. There's so many good. It's so campy and so funny, but also so badass. There's just a lot to like about this movie.
Yeah, these are the movies that I love, and that nothing bothers me more when people try to like self-consciously remake them now. You can't self-consciously be campy, but good, because you just seem like you're trying too hard.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, you have to make a movie, the right movie, what you think is a good movie, and then later realize that you were making a ridiculous movie, and the times were like, and you just didn't understand how ridiculous your current era is.
I think in 20 years we're gonna look back on the John Wick movies like that.
Well, I already felt that way about John Wick 3, but yeah.
Oh, John Wick 3 takes it to the new level. That's the one for me that did it.
I mean, I think the movies that kind of feel that way from not that long ago are movies that like tried to do the Batman Begins thing but failed. Like super
Yes.
super gritty comic book movies that didn't work feel like a self-parody now.
I'm glad you're with me in this, that you can laugh and make fun of a movie and nitpick it, even though you still love it and you'll defend the greatness of the movie. So kind of like Top Gun, there's lots of scenes that you can make fun of in Top Gun.
Yeah, there's like
Heat, absolutely. Anything with Pacino talking, you can theoretically make fun of, but you can still also really love the movie.
And also anything where a guy picks up a girl by telling her that he's reading a book about minerals.
Metals. It was metals.
Metals. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. That scene is. Oh man. I don't know who goes home with De Niro. You're calling the police
Also,
if anything.
Such a great bullshit trick is like when you know you can't write any chemistry between two characters, you just like have them meet, kind of ended ambiguously, and then just cut to them post sleeping together.
Yeah,
it's like so obvious.
I would bet my entire bank account that Edie does not go home with that guy in real life.
I see, and like that's supposed to make it seem like good good storytelling as far as like it's like, you know, it's not showing you everything, you're putting together pieces, but like it's like so obvious that like, yeah, that's because these two characters have no romantic chemistry whatsoever. I love when movies do that.
All right, Dustin. First of all, we went 1 hour and 8 minutes on that. I don't know how I'm going to turn this into a podcast. I might have to. I don't know. I can't chop it up. What am I going to do here? Because I can't just release an hour-long podcast only about movies, can I?
I mean, you tell me. I mean, I can't. I don't know. I mean,
my plan.
Hour pretty often. I will say that during quarantine, there are a lot of people releasing very long podcasts about what isn't their thing.
Yeah.
Like, so you know, it's kind of When in Rome to go back.
I think my When in Rome. Great. What is When in Rome from?
Anchorman. That's what I said.
Anchorman. Yeah. There we go. Which was a saying long before Anchorman, but I think Anchorman just absorbed it.
Well, Anchorman used the fact that it's saying, and then it's just so amazing that he doesn't understand it.
Yeah, I think you ask anyone today, what do you associate that phrase from, and it's Anchorman.
Yeah, but in Anchorman, they're acknowledging that it's already a phrase.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess this will just be an hour plus long podcast with.
Well, there's going to be a little bit you can cut out.
I planned on this going 30 minutes, and it's going to go 70.
I think we talked 7 minutes about Michael Fassbender and like 2 scenes of one of the movies that's on our. Oh no, he's in none of the scenes of none of the movies. So that's great.
I'm not going to cut any of it. How's that sound?
Perfect. Yeah, I don't see why not. I don't see why to do.
There's long awkward silences. There's you and me Googling things.
There's me having to get the dog out.
Yeah, I might just leave it all in and see how it goes.
Perfect. I like it.
All right, Dustin.
Actually,
before I let you go, who had the better list? I mean, you're gonna probably be partial to your list. I'm probably gonna be partial to my list. But if you could change lists, would you trade with me?
Could you run down yours real quick?
I've got Pulp Fiction, Top Gun, Anchorman, Boogie Nights, and Top Gun Maverick.
So I would actually be very close to just actually choosing your list because I think the Pulp Fiction Boogie Nights combo kind of like puts it over the top, and then your last choice just killed it for me because you picked a movie that doesn't exist yet. And is a sequel to a movie that you already have, so you're already inheriting it, kind of.
Yes.
And yet you still picked it.
I like the balance of mine. It's Pulp Fiction and Boogie Nights are both
the balance of by picking pretty much the same movie twice.
They're not even close to the same. One's porn industry, one's like Hitman, and
by picking a movie and its sequel that doesn't exist yet.
Oh, that. Well, yeah. I got a good balance between action and then like these longer story, like broken up story movies where I can. They're kind of slower paced, lots of tension, drama, and then I've got these like huge Tom Cruise action like super movies to go with a comedy also. I think I beat you in overall balance of movies.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right because I have nothing like Anchorman on mine. Mine almost all are like sprawling crime things, with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood kind of veering the farthest way. But yeah, yours has more versatility. But then again, you chose a movie that doesn't exist yet.
It exists. It just hasn't been released. It counts.
It may never exist going at this speed, but
Don't you dare say that.
But yeah, I think our last two picks, I kind of already regret picking LA Confidential. I was doing it for a reason, but I think our last two picks, the podcast falls apart a little. First 8 went great.
We'll see. We'll see how it shows up in post.
Okay.
All right, Dustin. Good talking to you. We'll talk again soon, either about sports, hopefully about baseball, maybe some movies at the back end, just because you're the movie guy. But we'll get you on again, hopefully when there's some baseball to talk about.
Sounds great, man.
All right, that was long and good, and that was Dodger Dustin. That's going to do it for the show. Thank you for listening. Please follow the show's Twitter account at Friar Farmhands. And if you enjoy, subscribe, rate the show, leave a comment. We're on all your favorite platforms: iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeart.
You can also find us at Believe.com and at Believe Podcasts. Please leave your comments, questions, concerns, and your rating of the show on all platforms.
You've been listening to the Believe in Padres Prospects podcast on the Believe Podcast Network, San Diego's #1 sports podcast network. I'm Ryan. That was Wade, and shout out to Dustin again. We'll talk to you guys all again next week.
Did you record?
Toward your destination, though you may find from time to time.
Why'd I get mixed up with that bitch?
Because she got a great ass. And you got your head all the way up it.
Jesus.